What happens if your spouse passes away before retirement? Sadly, this happens far too often. And along with everything else, the surviving spouse now has to determine, am I okay financially? And when or even if can I retire? You may be wondering, how has my financial situation changed now that I'm entering retirement without my spouse? Is the money that we saved enough? Or will I have to make major changes like reducing my expenses or retiring later than I had planned on? What about Social Security? Hi, my name is Ross Satefi. I'm the founder and senior wealth advisor at Yatra Wealth Design. And today I'm going to walk you through how to plan for retirement if you're 60 years old with about a $1.4 million portfolio and asking yourself, when can I retire? In fact, today we're going to pull the cover back and we're going to look at a real person's financial plan. Now, the names have been changed and the dollar amounts modified slightly for confidentiality purposes. But this is a very real scenario. And we're going to go through and show you the exact process that we took Jane through to help her in planning for retirement, even after her spouse passed away. Now, this is Jane's sample, and as I mentioned, her husband had recently passed away when she came to us for help, and she really did not want to return to work. She wanted to be able to have the time to grieve and just to be able to focus on that. So she came to us looking for help on when she could retire. And we took her through our 3-step financial planning and financial modeling process. Now, we're mostly going to focus on the financial modeling here today, but you can learn more about that entire process on our website. And this financial planning process can be helpful for you regardless of whether you're single, whether your spouse has passed away, or whether you are currently married. So looking at Jane Sample's financial model here, we're going to start off, as you can see, she was age 60 and getting into her, net worth. So we're going to start off with her assets. So she had a trust account. This was, funny money that's non-retirement, and it's titled in the name of her trust at about $349,000. She had some IRAs, a little over $1 million worth of IRAs. She had a Roth IRA worth about $34,000, and then she had a home worth about $780,000, and she had a liability, her home mortgage at around $225,000. And of course, in here we enter in all the pertinent information like the interest rate, the number of years left on the mortgage, and the monthly payment. Then as far as income that we're projecting, so you can see that we had Jane's Social Security here, and for her, we can talk more about this, but we were planning after we did some planning, we realized that the best strategy for her as far as Social Security was to take her Social Security at age 70. And then she was able to take her deceased spouse John's Social Security benefits, his survivor benefits, between now and her age 70. So she was able to take his benefits now and then delay hers. And then when she took her benefits at age 70, they were going to be a lot higher. So you can see John's Social Security benefits here at $27,000 a year, and then that's going to stop when Jane's Social Security kicks in at her age 70, and that's going to be as much as $42,000 at that point in time. And Jane was also fortunate. She, was able to receive her deceased spouse John's company pension. He had a couple pensions from an aerospace company, and so you can see there's one pension here which is about $18,000 a year, and a second pension which is about $24,000 a year, and those were set up to go throughout her entire lifetime. And this one here doesn't grow with inflation, so that's always important. We want to make sure that the pension, if it has a inflation rider, inflation adjustment, we want to make sure that's in the model. If it doesn't, we want to accurately reflect that. So this pension does not increase with inflation, and this one also did not increase with inflation. So that's kind of the income that we can expect throughout Jane's retirement, just either from pensions or Social Security. And anything else that she would need would have to come from her investments and savings. And then as far as expenses go, so you can see that, she had a home loan, and the payment on her mortgage was about $19,500 a year. Pre-Medicare, she had some pretty high medical insurance costs because medical insurance is quite expensive before Medicare. If you end up paying out of pocket and you're not getting it through an employer or something like that, especially, in your 60s, the medical insurance costs can be pretty high. And so, when we looked at that together, she was paying almost $1,000 a month in medical insurance costs, again, assuming that she retired. And once she hits Medicare age at 65, you can see that the expenses drop to $3,500 a year for medical care, for Medicare costs. So a pretty substantial difference. And then the rest of her expenses, so everything else added up, was about $95,000 a year. And of course, those are going to be increasing with inflation over time. So once we plugged all that into the model here, then what we're able to do is look at a projection. So this is this is the output that we're given from the financial model here. And I'm just going to go through it with you. So at the bottom, we have the years. So 2024, and then is when this model is starting. And then here on the left-hand side, we have the dollar amounts. And each one of these colors is a certain type of income. So this other income, that's going to be the pension income that she's receiving from John's pensions. And then the yellow here, as well as John's survivorship from Social Security. So those are all these kind of like teal color here. And then the red line, this is where her expenses end every year. This is how much she has in expenses every year. And you can kind of see that that's increasing with inflation over time. And the yellow here, this is how much she's needing to withdraw every year from her portfolio. So that's, her savings and investments to be able to meet her expenses on a year-by-year basis. And then out when she turns age 70 in 2034, you can see that it switches to this dark blue color. That's when her Social Security, that's when Jane's Social Security kicks in, and it switches away from John's survivorship benefit to Jane's Social Security benefit here. So you can see there's less teal and there's more of this dark blue kicking in. And the way things were set up at this time, even with the Social Security strategy that we were able to, look at together and determine that was the best one, and even with the pensions and everything else, based on her expenses that she thought, she would have in retirement initially, we looked at this model and we saw that, if she was going to live to age 90 here, that she really only had a 41% chance of making it, 41% chance of not running out of money. And, considering that Jane was retiring, relatively early at age 60, we didn't think that was sufficient. And we wanted to make sure that she had a much higher probability of success, a much higher chance of making it through age 90 without running out. So we decided, there's in a circumstance like that, there's a few different options that we can kind of choose, right? So we have one option, which would be to retire later. We have another option, which would be to, reduce the expenses in retirement, spend a little bit less. We have, another option, which potentially could be to change the way you're investing. But of course, we want to be pretty conservative with that, because sometimes we can't necessarily control the investment returns that you're going to receive. So in this case, we didn't think it was prudent to just kind of, take more risk with the investments or something like that to try to get a higher return and assume that we're going to get a higher return. So we wanted to do something that was a bit more controllable, and that was to potentially lower her living expenses in retirement. And what we identified was there were some expenses that, she was very comfortable and confident that she could reduce without it dramatically impacting her lifestyle. And, some of the expenses that she had before were going to come down anyways, now that John had passed away. And so once we identified that reducing her expenses was feasible, we were able to reduce it by a little over $1,000 a month, maybe closer to $1,500 a month, and that was sufficient to get her to a 73% chance probability of success to not run out of money through age 90. And probability of success, what this really means, this is running like 500 different scenarios, anything from really good returns in the portfolio to really bad returns in the portfolio over this time period, and with the investments and anything in between. And the percentage is saying over all those different scenarios, how many of them are you going to be okay in, right? Because we don't necessarily know what the returns and what the performance of the portfolio are going to be over the next 20 to 30 plus years. So what we want to do is model out a whole bunch of different scenarios and see, make sure that in most of them, in a high percentage of them, that you're going to be okay in retirement, and make sure that our plan is strong enough and conservative enough that you're going to be okay. And make sure that there's a low chance that you're going to have to make a big change in retirement, right? And so, when we went over this together with Jane, we felt fairly comfortable and confident with the 73% chance of success, especially considering that, she would likely decrease some of those travel expenses, especially later in her later years. And so, that would also potentially improve the model even further from this. We also thought that, she would have a fully paid off home at this point, and that's not reflected in this model as far as the potential to sell that house at some point if she needed to or wanted to, right? Especially in her later years. And so if she was going to have a fully paid off home, maybe 20 years plus from now would be worth $1 million to $1.5 million. So that would be free and clear as well. And so if she could sell that, that's an additional asset. So we felt pretty confident that with a 73% chance of success, making it through age 90 and the fully paid off home, that there was a very, very small, almost non-existent chance that, she would ever run out of money or have to make some sort of major changes in retirement, have to return to work in her older years. And so basically, once we did this type of planning, Jane felt comfortable and confident to go ahead and not return to work after John passed away, to retire. And, since that point, it really gave her the opportunity to grieve appropriately, and to not be stressed out by work, to not be stressed out by finances. As the years have gone on, she's been traveling again, just been in a better space overall. So I'm really grateful that we were able to work with Jane to help her through that tough time, and that we continue to work with her now, many years later, and help her through that tough spot, and help her to feel comfortable and confident with her financial life in such a difficult period. So again, whether you're single, whether your spouse has passed away, whether you are currently married, and you're looking at, can I retire? How much can I live on? Can I retire maybe earlier than 65? How do I manage, Social Security? And what do I need to make any adjustments in retirement? These are all things that we can help you with this financial planning and modeling. Let us know if you have any questions. We'd be happy to discuss with you. Hope you have a great day.